Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Bear with each other. Forgive one another. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. These are just a few of the many things that the Bible says about forgiveness. And I'm talking about the real Bible here. You know, the Word of God. You would never find that level of compassion in the woke Bible. Worshippers of the oak tree, they are not taught to forgive. They're taught to overreact and destroy the lives of anyone guilty of making a simple mistake. There is no forgiveness when it comes to violations of the woke commandments. All it takes is one mistake, one slip of the tongue, and your career is over. Now, of course, these punishments, they are not handed out equally. There is no such thing as equity in the eyes of the woke law. Certain marginalized groups, they are given far more leeway than those of us who belong to the privileged class. Now, whether you believe in God or not, the Bible is full of practical wisdom. Even though it was written thousands of years ago, the Bible is filled with wisdom that applies to life today. Unfortunately, it seems more and more people are straying away from the actual Bible, which makes them vulnerable to being indoctrinated by the woke Bible. Before last night, I would be willing to bet 99.9% of the country never heard of Glen Kuiper. KC, is he the brother of Mel Kuiper? No, there's no relation here. Unlike Mel Kuiper, Glen, he is not collecting woke welfare from ESPN. If he was, he would have already been turned into the woke authorities and received the punishment of cucumber insertion. There is no way ESPN would have allowed him to call that game last night. Executives at ESPN, they would have been so triggered, they would have called for the game to be canceled altogether. We must cancel this meaningless Major League Baseball game. Let's set tonight aside to mourn. Let's all grieve together as our speculations have been proven true. The white man is born and to inherit racism. Glen Kuiper, he is one of the announcers for the Oakland A's, which is why I just said 99.9% of the country never heard of him. The Oakland A's are one of the biggest dumps in professional sports. Now, they haven't reached WNBA level dump status just yet, but they are working hard to achieve that esteemed honor. Last night, Glen Kuiper and some other unknown dude who looks like he plays in a ZZ Top cover band, they were working the pregame show. The A's, they were in Kansas City to participate in a meaningless Major League Baseball game against another team that no one gives a shit about. During the pregame show, Glen Kuiper, he accidentally says a word that I think we can all agree is egregious. Members of Woke United Methodist, they get triggered over basic words. Fat, ooh, I'm triggered. Lizzo, ooh, I'm hungry. Wanker, ooh, spank me. These people do not need a reason to express their fake outrage. Unfortunately for Glen Kuiper, even though it was accidental, he gave them the ultimate reason. Now, before I play these clips for you guys, let me get to the sponsor for today's video, my boys over at Patriots for Prosperity. We have been programmed to believe that throwing our money into a 401k is the best way to build wealth. These financial experts, they have convinced us that putting money in a qualified retirement plan is the best decision. Seems to me the banks are benefiting the most. They have your money locked away for decades, and if you ever want to access your money too soon, you get penalized. How dare you ask for your own money? Luckily, there is a better option available. Have you guys ever wondered where the super wealthy keep their money? I'm talking about guys like Walt Disney, J.C. Penney, Donald Trump. They use what my friends at Patriots for Prosperity call the Liberty Asset. Been around for over 150 years, never failed to turn a profit. Instead of having the bank's best interest in mind, my friends over at Patriots for Prosperity, they have your best interest in mind. They will help you find the best place to store your wealth. And the best part is, you will always have access to your money and it grows tax-free. I have already met with Alden myself. This coming Tuesday, I will officially start using the infinite banking concept. I encourage you guys to do the same. Go to www.thelibertyasset.com/behindtheline or click the link in the description below to see if the Liberty Asset is right for you. All right, let's get into these clips. During the pregame show last night, Glen Kuiper, he was describing the great day they had in Kansas City. They enjoyed some good barbecue, if such a thing exists. Me personally, I have never acquired the taste for barbecue. I know that's probably weird to some of you guys, but it's just never been my thing. But after lunch, They went to the Negro League Museum in Kansas City. Right now, the museum, they are trying to get funding for a new $25 million facility. Now, if you look at this objectively, Glen Kuiper, he's actually promoting the cause. He's trying to help. Of course, objectivity is a foreign concept to members of Woke United Methodist. Reverend Jalen Rose, he does not preach objectivity. Everything is subjective. Everything is twisted to fit their narrative. Now, I'm going to play the clip that triggered the fake outrage. Then I'm going to follow with Glen Kuiper's apology. I'm going to black out the video on the apology for copyright reasons. Hopefully, both of these clips are allowed to go through. I'm going to describe them afterwards just in case they get flagged by NBC Sports, but watch for yourself.
We had a phenomenal day today. Negro League Museum and Arthur Bryant's Barbecue. A little bit earlier in the show, I said something didn't come out quite the way I wanted it to, and I just wanted to apologize if it sounded different than I meant it to be said.
First of all, this is one of those rare instances where I actually understand the apology. 99% of the time, I don't like public apologies. I think most of them are fake. They're only given to appease the shit fucks. But not only do I understand this apology, I think it was genuine. I think it was authentic. Glen Kuiper made a mistake. He apologized for it. That should be end of story. Any objective person, any normal person can clearly see this was unintentional. Glen Kuiper, he did not mean to say the N-word. He was talking about how great his visit was to the Negro League Museum. He had an unfortunate slip of the tongue. This could happen to anyone. This is live television. There are no edits. There is no going back. Once it's out there, it's out there. Now you got to remember, this was a regional broadcast for the Oakland Athletics. There are small YouTube channels that have a bigger following than the Oakland A's. The A's are one of the least watched teams in Major League Baseball, for good reason. This team absolutely sucks. Ownership is begging to get the hell out of Oakland along with everyone else who is living there. How many people do you think were watching this broadcast last night? 5,000? Maybe 10,000? All it takes is one shit starter to put this clip on social media and the wanker spankers come out in full force. Anytime something like this happens, I don't like to focus on the word. I focus on the intent, the context. Was Glen Kuiper being malicious? Was he using the word as a slur? Was he trying to demean anyone? No, and no. Seriously, just think about this logically for a second. Why would someone go on television and say this word on purpose? What would be the point? How would that benefit them? In this social climate, it would be the end of their career. Even when it's accidental, it could be the end of their career. So why would someone do this voluntarily? The answer is they wouldn't. But that's not what a few special shitfucks in the mainstream media want you to believe. No. This was no accidental slip-up. This was no unfortunate mistake. This was proof the white man is born with inherent racism. The white man is born with hatred for marginalized groups. According to baseball writer Dan Clark, this was not an accident. This was no accident. Glen Kuiper obviously uses that word with regularity. Otherwise, how could it possibly come out of his facial orifice? In the court of woke, you are never given the benefit of the doubt. There is no presumption of innocence. It is always guilty until proven guilty, or it's guilty even when proven innocent. The facts do not matter. Intent doesn't matter. Context doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the furthering of the narrative. Glen Kuiper, he fits perfectly into their narrative. Evil white man speaking a racial slur. Doesn't matter that it was accidental. It fits perfectly into their false narrative that all white men are racist. The Oakland Athletics, they decided to release their climax and stoke the woke flames. Instead of, having the back of someone associated with the organization, instead of coming out publicly and explaining this was accidental, the A's, they do the complete opposite. The language used by Glen Kuiper is unacceptable. We do not condone this hateful rhetoric. We are working to address this situation immediately. Translation: Glen Kuiper about to be fired. I am recording this video at 10:30 Saturday morning. As of right now, Glen Kuiper has not been fired yet. I'm actually surprised NBC Sports allowed him to finish calling that game. Glad they did. I'm glad they didn't overreact initially, but still surprising nonetheless. Normally in these situations, you are immediately pulled off the air and publicly shamed for violating the woke commandments. In the bigger picture, this is not about Glen Kuiper. This is about lack of forgiveness, lack of understanding. Like I said, this could happen to anyone who works in front of a camera or a microphone. I have the benefit of editing. I have never done live broadcast. When you are sitting in front of a camera every day, there are times when you're going to slip. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. I spent a few minutes reading through some of the reactions to Glen Kuiper on Twitter. I only spent a few minutes because that's all I could handle. You would think some of these people were personally affected by this, which they weren't. One guy said, "There are no mistakes. When I use racial slurs, I mean them. So did Glen Kuiper." So, let me get this straight. Here you are, admitting to being a racist, calling the guy that slips up on live television a racist. If we lived in an objective society, this would be a non-story. Glen Kuiper made a mistake. He apologized for it. We all would move on. But this will be the biggest media story throughout the weekend. Glen Kuiper does not deserve to be fired. Hell, he doesn't deserve to be suspended. This dude has dedicated decades of his life working for one of the biggest dumps in Major League Baseball. You couldn't pay me enough money to call 162 boring-ass baseball games for a team that loses on purpose. It would be different if there was equity with cancel culture. Now, just to be clear, I don't support cancel culture. I don't want anyone to be canceled, but it would be different if there was equity to it. I mean, that's what the shit fucks pretend to preach, right? Equity? Ooh, I love equity. You get 3 inches, I get 3 inches. But there is no equity when it comes to enforcing the woke commandments. Jory Reid can go on MSNBC every night and promote racial propaganda. Talbert the Swan, he can speak his hatred on Twitter and social media without consequence. Glen Kuiper makes one mistake in a broadcasting career spanning 2 decades, and they want to crucify him for it. That makes sense to me, but what the hell do I know? I'm not a shit fuck. But give me your thoughts. Situation with Glen Kuiper. Was it accidental, or does it prove their false narrative? Should he be fired? Should he be punished? I say no. Maybe you guys disagree. Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys later.